Griseo's Signet, called the Signet of Stars, is one of the 5 new additions in Elysian Realm. Its main feature is the paint mechanic, which taints enemies and applies debuffs based on the paint's color. These paints do not mix, but they can coexist and apply a stronger debuff provided that you have unlocked the corresponding enhanced Signet. The paint colors that can be applied are red, blue, and yellow, each requiring different conditions to activate. Red and hot taints enemies with a red paint when using a weapon active, making them take 25% physical and elemental damage. This is a very strong debuff since it is classified as an independent multiplier, which basically increases your damage by 25% when it's active, so make sure to take this whenever possible. In this clip, Carol deals 3,899 damage, and applying the red paint increases her damage by 25%. Blue and Cold taints enemies with a blue paint when using an evasion skill, reducing their total damage and movement speed. Yellow and Warm applies a yellow paint after using an ultimate, and this makes enemies take 30% more total damage. All paint colors last for 8 seconds, and reapplying the paint refreshes this duration. This can be extended by getting Gray and Empty, which extends their duration by 5 seconds. The other 2 Signets are White and Bright, which restores SP on a 5-second cooldown when applying a paint, and Black and Dark, which increases physical and elemental damage by 10% whenever an enemy is tainted. This has a max stack of 6. Out of the 6, I would recommend taking the red and yellow paint along with the duration extension to increase the uptime of the debuffs. Now let's proceed to Griseo's core Signet, Shining Like Stars. What this basically does is, when your Valkyrie is type countered or has the type disadvantage, your Valkyrie will gain total damage against this enemy based on the number of paints applied. 20% bonus total damage if 1 paint is applied, 50% for 2 paints, and 100% if all paints are applied. Carol has the type advantage and deals 3,899 damage. Upon applying a single paint, there is no increase and the damage remains the same. On the other hand, her Sheer Flame Sign does not have the type advantage. She deals 2,779 damage, and upon applying a single paint, there's a damage increase, meaning that the 4 Signet was activated. The enhanced Signets also provide debuffs as well as extra damage, but 2 paint colors must be applied onto the enemy to activate their effects. Burning Like Flames requires red and yellow paints, and it provides physical and elemental breach against enemies tainted with these colors. Stretching Like Leaves needs yellow and blue paints applied onto the enemies, and attacks against them deal bonus adaptive damage with a cooldown of 8 seconds. Lastly, we have Blooming Like Flowers, which requires blue and red paints. Unlike the 4 Signet, which works when you have the disadvantage, this Signet only works when you have the type advantage. This is Carol's damage without any paint applied. The red paint increases this by 25%, and applying the blue paint activates Blooming Like Flowers. Similar to the red paint, this applies an independent multiplier that is basically a 50% damage increase. Although the activation requirements are quite restrictive, it allows you to deal huge amounts of damage when timed right. Griseo Signets can be used by any Valkyries provided that they can satisfy the conditions and reapply the paint as often as possible. The red and yellow paints can act as standalone Signets, but as mentioned earlier, getting the duration extension along with these 2 is recommended should you decide to get the 4. Since the enhanced Signet Burning Like Flames utilizes these 2 colors and provides physical and elemental breach.